Hey guys, this is Kamikan, and to be honest, I'm not even a big horror fan. I'm making a comic about horror, and I'm not even really a horror fan, so I don't even know all the tropes. I don't know what people are into. I just know what I'm into, and it's not really horror. When I look at my general reading consumption, it is usually like shonen manga or maybe romance manga or a seinen. Those are the things that I really like to take in the most, and horror is not on that list. If I do take in any horror, it's gonna be something very like it's usually gonna be in manga form, because they're really able to take advantage of the black and white nature of manga and then turn it into something horrific to look at, and I like how they do that in Japan. But even those I don't usually finish. And movies, I don't really like gore. So I don't really watch most American horror movies. And in general, I don't like the fact that horror sometimes has no way out. Where if things are scary and tragic, then I'm like, man, it just leaves a downer feeling on my mind, and I'm just like, I don't want that. And I guess the whole reason why I don't really like horror in general is that I don't want certain things playing around in my head to like stay with me after a horror story is done. Like, I don't want to go to sleep thinking like, oh man, something is gonna eat me, or somebody's gonna get me, or somebody's just outside my window. I don't like thinking that stuff on my way to bed. But other people gladly like scare the crap out of themselves, and they can handle it just fine. Like, I know I can't, so I don't engage in horror. Like, even Michael Myers movies back then, I would be scared of the gore, and I was aware of him, but I did not watch those movies or enjoy them because I just it would be scary. And that's the whole reason why I don't like horror, is just because it's actually scary, and I'm like, I don't want this feeling to be in my mind. I don't like anything that's too psychological. I don't like anything that's too gory. And I've had a friend who he watched an actual snuff film, and he could barely tell whether if it was like real or not. And he was telling me about it, and I barely even wanted to hear his description of the film. I was just like, yeah, I don't want to know anything about what you're talking about, dude. I am good. Like, I don't want that in my mind at all, period. I'm good. Like, the level of horror that I basically stopped at growing up was Courage the Cowardly Dog, and that's it. Like, I'm good after that. But there are things that I do like about horror that, for some reason, I put into my own comics. And when I think about it, looking back, the actual stories that I've completed and finished drawing are horror stories. Or they have a creepy element or a factor to it, to where it's like, oh, this isn't a regular story. Like, this is a horror story. And it's weird that I'm looking back now. It's like most of my actual finished stories or comics aren't shonen type comics like Air Rider. It's mostly scary or creepy vibes. And I'm like, what the heck? I didn't really. It's just, I guess it's just a part of my psyche, or it's like this curious part of my mind that wants to put that into comic form. And the first Shonen Jump contest I ever entered, I entered with a horror comic, or I tried to enter with a horror comic, and that one, it was called Cash Shadow, and it was supposed to be a creepy vibe. It was a story about a little girl who was being haunted, and whoever she was staying with, their whole life would turn to ruin, and she would be completely fine. So this story was about that situation. And then the next story that I actually completed, that was a 10-page story that I did when I was 20. It was called Class A, and it was about a routine exercise using swords that went wrong when a monster showed up and started blasting. That story was the first time I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna draw the scariest or weirdest thing I can think of and see how that turns out. And that ended up being like my 10-page short that you can get in the link in my description. It'll be there along with Saintly and Air Rider and all of them. But yeah, then I did Air Rider, which was my first time trying to do a traditional like shonen type series or superhero type series. And then I went straight back to horror with Saintly. And with Saintly, the type of horror that I personally like is weird, creepy horror where it's enough to tweak your mind, it's enough to tweak your brain, but it's not enough to leave lasting psychological damage. It's just like, I like watching horror shorts on YouTube or on Instagram, and where like there's like a weird, creepy demon or whatever, and then, or like even a deformed person or something like that, that's just like waiting outside your door or in an enclosed space, and it might be chasing you or something like that. My little cousins who would play like Roblox and that kind of thing, they would show me this thing called Angry Monkey or something like that, where it was just this like little black thing with eyes that would just be chasing you around a map. And that kind of stuff is like so weird and creepy. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like. Or when I was really heavily learning Japanese a long time ago, there would be this video game called Blue Demon or Ao Oni, and it would be this like weird deformed purple guy chasing you around this house, and you'd have to try to like go into different rooms and escape him, hide away from him, and not get caught. And that is just the kind of weird and creepiness that I like. But then there was this video that I watched a long time ago of the top 10 creepiest cartoons ever created. And one of them was this cartoon called Forthright Woods or something like that, about these woodland animals. It was made in Australia, and that was so plainly creepy about death and about turning these creatures who you thought were almost like Disney characters and just killing them off almost unceremoniously, like in the most creepy of ways that are actually naturally accurate, but is just weird to see that they got killed like that. And I was just, that left a lasting impression on my mind. I was just like, oh, I never want to see anything like that again. I didn't actually watch the cartoon. I just watched their description of it in the video. And then I probably sought out more of those episodes with a morbid curiosity. But yeah, horror is something I want to talk about more as time goes on, because I have a curiosity for it, but I don't really consider myself a fan of horror, at least the horror that most people watch in general, like the movies that come out in America. I don't really like a lot of gore and that kind of thing. The last horror movie I really watched was Sinners, and that wasn't even really scary. It had too much context to be really that horrific, whereas a lot of the horror that I like doesn't have that much context. Like maybe you're in a house with a creepy thing, and then that creepy thing looks at you, and it's got these big old bug eyes or whatever, and it's just like, I don't want anything to do with that. Or maybe something like analog horror, which I don't really watch or indulge in anything to analog horror, but it is creepy because it takes, I think the creep factor in that is that it takes your childhood things and then twists them in a crazy, scary way. And I'm like, you know what? I think I would be interested in that, but maybe not yet. I don't know. I don't know. It would take time for me to get into that type of media. But yeah, that's what I try to that's what I want to put into Saintly. I want to instill that weird fear of I want to instill that fear of like being chased by weird uncanny demons. That's the type of horror I like. I like uncanny horror where it's just like, what is this weird thing I can't really fully describe, and why is it chasing me, and can I get away safely? And that's the thing. Like, I think it's embedded in me from a very early age with the types of characters that Courage the Cowardly Dog would come into contact with, like Ramses with the Return to Slab, or that girl who was in this room or whatever, and then turns around and she's got these bug eyes and it's crazy and it's weird. Like, that stuff stayed with me for my entire life. Like, I still remember it vividly. I'm like, ugh, those things are weird. Or my first real encounter with like something that was kind of scary was Scooby-Doo's Charlie the Robot episode, where this weird robot is just running around chasing everybody. It has superhuman strength and speed, and you're not quite sure what it's going to do to you once it grabs you, but you don't want to find out. And it's like that, having that little tweak or having that little fear at the edge of your mind where it teases you with the curiosity of what might happen. That's the kind of stuff I want to play with my latest webcomic, Saintly. It is a demon chase horror action comedy about two best friends who have to outrun the demon loan sharks that they borrowed from. Basically, it's like Scooby-Doo meets K-pop demon hunters without the K-pop. And the story backs the main character into a corner where she has to decide between the hard path to success or lose her soul to the lure of easy money. And we get to see the ramifications of her choice, and if she can hide this deal with the devil from her friend, or if it will tear them apart. And I hope you read my comic in the description and check out the story. It should appear in your email inbox or your spam folder if you don't see it. And yeah, that's the type of horror that I consider fun to read, fun to watch. That's not too gory, that's not too psychologically damaging. Just the type that'll tweak you enough to where you're like, that's scary. Like, I don't want nothing to do with that. And that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. So stay tuned for more. I'm going to be making more of this comic in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.